So we need a paradigm shift. Okay, I'm sorry to use this cliche, but we need a paradigm shift in the sense of first of all, teaching people to have a spine, in the sense not just to regurgitate things that they find over the internet and hand it out, and also to have a spine in the sense of controlling their depth of interaction, so that people would be able to have longer attention spans. I think that's a major thing that we need to teach students.
Okay, so I'd like to address that from this perspective. So first of all, I think that education didn't change. You're right, not so much. And I think and probably now it's changing a little bit, because now, you know, my kids, they get their homework on the internet. They go to Google to find stuff. But I think that for me, the most important thing first is to learn them how to learn. Okay, so, and I think that's a fundamental skill, which is kind of independent of how much information they're looking. I want them to be able to learn. And today it means also to know how to search for information, which information is important, which is not important. So maybe that's a kind of a new skill because of the technology, but it goes back to how to learn. Second, you said you need a strong personality to kind of, to know how to deal with all these things coming at us, right? So I must say that I'm quite surprised when I see my kids when they, they are a lot on the computer, right? That's today what's happening. But it doesn't mean that they do less other things. So they still read books. They still talk to their friends a lot. And maybe you used to go to them once and you used to call them. But so the medium has changed. But the basic things that they are doing are still the same. They play a lot. They play with their friends. They don't only play all day long on the computer. So I think that education today is you have much more information. You need to teach the kids to how to make their decisions in a world that is ever changing. There's also the problem with access. Today you have access to so much more things. Some of them are very good, like you can explore things, you can learn things, you are exposed to so many things that they know much more than I knew, and I knew much more than my parents did, but that's a one-way direction. It doesn't go the other way. So there's a lot of good things, there's a lot of bad things, and that's also part of education, and I think it's a very big challenge on us educators because it's not easy, and so it can be done with tools. Obviously, a challenge on the technologies, at least give the tools so people can make the right decisions. It's not about imposing things on the children or on education, but it's really giving them the tools to do the right things. But going back to education, they have the tools. You need to educate them how to use tools in the right way.
But we've never done that before.
Okay.
So, how many in the audience have seen the Cohn Academy? It's a hands up. So, for those of you who haven't, go to the Cohn Academy and you will see how technology isn't hurting education, it's going to save public education. Salman Khan was a hedge fund manager in New York, and his nephew and niece back in Pakistan were struggling with some maths, and he put out a series of lessons, I think on algebra were the first lessons. And his nephew and niece said, God, Sal, I had no idea you were so cool. This is so much better when you try and tell us this in person. They put it up on the internet. It went viral. Millions of people started downloading it. He created more videos. Bill Gates of the Gates Foundation funded the creation of the Cohn Academy as a non-profit. It has changed the lives of many children because it allows them to work at their own pace. And then in the classroom, they can actually solve problems with their peers. And for many people, this form of learning where you can really make sure you understand an element of the mathematical curricula before you go into the next thing, it's tremendously powerful because everyone in this room has something in common. We're all high achievers who could move on from an area where we had perhaps spotty performance and then do great in exams. That's not true for many kids. Curricula like the Cohn Academy, where children can learn at their own pace and then work on real problems together in a collaborative fashion, it's a really powerful thing. And I think tools like that are going to make education better rather than worse.
I'd like to make a distinction between two things when we talk about the school system. The first one is educating, making better people, and that's not necessarily transference of information. And the second one is teaching skills. And my belief is that in terms of education, the education system today is pretty parallel to what it used to be in the past. People at school learn pretty much the same level of, or put the same level of attention to distinguishing between right and wrong, building character, learning about friendship. I know it's an over-abused word now in the Facebook era. Learning about trust, learning about morals, and I see that being maybe not enough, as always, but I see that as being part of the curriculum today at school, especially at the young age where it should be. In terms of teaching skills, this is where we need to look at the professions of the future. For thousands of years, if you wanted to be successful, you had to learn very few skills. You either went into agriculture, pottery, carpentry, stuff like that, and you survived because that was the way society evolved. Nowadays, it's computer science, some other sorts of engineering, legal, banking, financing, and other stuff. Moving forward in a very rapid way, not many years from now, it's going to be stuff that we simply don't have today. Gene hacking, database mining, BI experts, and things that are really hard to put a finger on. And what the education system, the good education systems are good at is teaching people how to learn new skills, how to absorb and rapidly move from one skill set to another. And I think the education system still has a gap to follow, but the kids today are born into that world of quickly absorbing new skill sets and are very well suited into that new future.
Just one little comment about that. If cars will drive themselves, then you won't need any more drivers, right? So driver is probably a skill that will disappear. So we need to think, what these people do. So obviously skills will change. Some skills will just disappear from the landscape. No more drivers, maybe no more mechanics because robots will actually repair the cars. Okay, but hopefully people will do something else, which is useful. So that's a big challenge ahead of us.
So education is strange because the impact is not uniform in a sense. True, when you come to class, as far as I know today, it's still very much the same teacher telling the same stories to the class, and this hasn't changed. But back then, I knew as a teacher as an idiot, but I didn't have an access to any better teacher. And today, through the Khan Academy, where I do. Information, I knew the book and the encyclopedia, whether it's home in the library disappeared, I believe, they are obsolete. But I didn't have access to any better source of information, and today certainly there is. So there is a gap between the new things which didn't really penetrate the school system, but are available. So it did democratize part of the education, specifically access to information, access to the best sources, and so on.
I want to mention, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not for destroying technology. I make a living from technology and everything. But if we talk about society, things that you mentioned about no longer having mechanics, drivers, etc., I'm afraid that technology is going to be a splitter of society. People like ourselves who are doing very well with technology, we can do much more than we did generations ago, but people who used to fill gas in gas stations or these people, I think, are going to have a hard time. If you remember Brave New World, Huxley talks about having alpha people, which I would assume that people here are alpha, beta, gamma perhaps, but he also talks about epsilon people who do not get oxygen during the birth process, so they would be dumb enough to clean the streets. I do not see these people benefiting enough from this system.
I totally disagree. It's on the contrary. I mean, computers and the internet democratized many areas. For example, publishing content. It's not in the control of everybody. Everybody just seeing the tremendous effect of including the person in the gas station, assuming that he or she knows how to write, they can publish information and disseminate the information on the entire globe within a second. This is true democratization. True that some areas haven't been yet democratized. For example, application generation. Still, some people make a good living out of it, and it's still something that, you need to be very trained, well-trained and so on in order to generate applications, to do programming and so on. But in some areas, it reaches everybody.
Survive as before the silicon replaces us. So thank you, Anna.